Thank you for coming to my talk. I know there was a lot of other talks that were very interesting, but migration is important. We have to deal with it. So I'm very grateful for stopping by. My name is Dalia, and I'm going to be talking about migrating from Java 8. I know it's most of developers today are on Java 8, so I wanted to come back. I did this talk last year, but I wanted to come back and share kind of the updates from talking to everyone about migrating to Java 11 and later. What are the biggest issues that they faced, and just kind of share it with everyone. So I'm going to be talking about that today. First, I'd like to do a little bit about me. I'm Dalia. I am the migration tooling dev lead at IBM. We do a lot of migration tooling. We help people that are in the retail industry, in the banking, all those folks migrate because it's not an easy task. If you work for any of those categories, you know it's a pain. You have hundreds of applications and you need all the automation you can get. So our goal is let's make that process as painless as possible. And the way we do that is by tooling. So we develop tools to help people that are migrating. We've been developing those tools since Java 5. Anyone was running Java 5 here? Yeah, fun. So we help people go from 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8. Anyone have to do any of those migrations? 6 to 7, 7 to 8? You raise your hands. All right, good. So now we're helping them go to Java 11 and later. So it's been interesting. It hasn't been like before. It is a kind of a different steps that you're going through than what you did before. So I'll be talking about what we did with that and lessons learned and so on and so forth. The tools don't just do that. We also work on moving on-premise applications to the cloud. You might be like, oh, well, what can you do in that space? Well, if we see your application is using any databases, for example, we're going to be like, well, you're moving to the cloud. Are you moving your databases to the cloud, or do you need to set up a connection back to your databases? What are you doing there? So we help there. If you're moving to Docker containers and you're trying to create files and put them in your file system, we tell you, well, that's not going to persist very well. You should use volumes, these kinds of things. So that's what the tooling is there for, to help with these kinds of decisions. So we work very closely with our app server development team. That's the team I was on before. I worked on JPA and EJPA and all that good stuff. So work very closely with the Open Liberty team, the app server. I talk all day about Open Liberty. I talk a lot with the WebSphere team. So I work a lot with those folks. To get to know me even more, common questions I get. Hey Dalia, I am migrating from Java 8 to 11. Do you think my application will break? Maybe. Those are the quality answers you should be expecting from me. Just maybe. No, we'll talk about why it's a maybe, because it depends on what you're using, of course, and we'll talk about what you should be looking out for. How do I convince management to let me migrate my Java version? I got this question last year at a conference, and I was like, just tell them it's the right thing to do. No, just kidding. So tell them about the security fixes. TLS 1.3 is a big one. If you're using TLS in your Java development, you need to upgrade to TLS 1.3. Security fixes, support, whatever, use all those things. I'll talk about why migrate in a bit, but that's why you need to migrate. You're going to have to do it anyways, but security is a big one. Do your tools work with Java 6? Yes, I've made it work with Java 6. We got that question, and we're like, all right, we'll make it work with Java 6. And then I realized what they're asking, and I'm like, wait, are you trying to migrate Java 6 to 11? That's really brave. Anyone on Java 6 before I trash talk too much? It's okay. I've dealt with people on Java 6. 7 maybe? All right. 8? All right. Anyone try to go to 11? All right. 13 maybe? I want to hear from the people that went to 11 how their process was, because I'm very curious. But the point is, most developers today are running Java 8 because it works and it's great, so why move? But we'll talk about why move in a bit. All right, So always ask yourself, why am I doing this? So why would you even migrate? First thing, of course, if you were here for Simon's talk, tons of cool new features. With Java 11, there was a lot of features that were there. If you look at the release pages, there's tons and tons and tons of features. In Java 9, there was the most because that was kind of where the release cadence changed. 10, 11, 12, 13, there's tons of them. Some of my favorites is var for local variable. Anyone went to Venkat's talk yesterday? Yeah, he was like, people either love it or hate it. And I'm like, well, I love it. And he was suggesting how to sneak it in so that people like eventually love it. I love vars. I like concise code, so I love vars. I like the new methods that got added in certain classes, and I'll show you that in just one sec. I like that you can now run single file Java files without a lot of work, so that's cool. Those are just my favorite. You can go out, look through the whole thing, and see what your favorites are. An example of this is, before, in Java 8, I would have had to create my list like this. I would have had list string, have to set it up, and then I have to add, so here I have a list of my states. I would have had to add Georgia, Minnesota is where I'm from, and then Texas, and then I have to assign it as an unmodified list. It's a lot of lines. I don't like that. I like concise code. With Java 11, I can do this in one line. So I'm taking advantage of the var. I don't have to declare my type twice. And I'm taking advantage of the list of here so that I can just add. I always wondered why we don't have this, because it's very nice to just be able to add it in one line and not have 5 different lines. So I think this is really cool. You can pick what cool features you're going for. Another one. So like I said, TLS 1.3 is a big one. If you're using TLS, it's really important to upgrade your TLS to 1.3. Some updates happened there. They're continuing to update that, so definitely check that out. Any library tooling developers in here? All right. So we had to update as soon as we can, because other people depended on us. So if you have anyone depending on you, maybe you're not doing tooling or libraries, but someone else is dependent on you, you need to be keeping up. So it's really important to keep that in mind. Oh, I missed one. And of course, eventually Java 8 will be going away. I've been debating if I need to put the slide here because it's more of a duh, but you're going to have to do this anyways, so might as well do it now. Take advantage of the new features, the security, all this stuff. So it's not wasted effort. So definitely look at it. I hope after this presentation, you're like, I know how to do it, and I'm going to go off and do it after this. So we talked about the why. Let's talk about what. What are you migrating to? Before, it was a very simple answer, right? Before, we had it like this. So Java 6 came out 2006. 5 years later, Java 7 came out. 3 years later, Java 8 came out. And you just migrated from 6 to 7, 7 to 8. But now, you have a new release schedule. So we saw this first with Java 9. So Java 9 came out. And there was this concept of long-term support releases and short-term support release, or non-LTS releases. What that means is Java 9 came out, it was in support for 6 months, and it went out of support as soon as Java 10 came out. And then Java 10 came out, it was in support for 6 months, went out of support when Java 11 came out. But since we had 3 years already between major Java versions, they declared Java 11 the next LTS release. That's why I keep saying Java 11, because that's the current LTS release. Java 12 came out after that. That was the beginning of last year. That was in support for 6 months, and that went out of support as soon as Java 13 came out. So that's the current version, but just in a month, Java 14 will come out, and you'll have to update to that, 15, 16. So you'll be seeing these versions coming out sooner, a lot sooner than they did before. And then Java 17 will be the next long-term supported release. So Dalia, why are you showing us this? Because a lot of people online are saying, I'm on Java 8, and they're on 13. Am I that behind? No, you're not behind. It's just it changed releases. You're getting Java a lot sooner. You can take advantage of features a lot faster. If you want to just get on the latest and take advantage of the new features that are coming out, you know, you came to this conference, you heard about all these new features, you can do that now. You don't have to wait 3 years. So that's cool. But then I have my Java applications that I want to kind of keep it stable and have it kind of run really beautifully. Well, you can run your LTS in production, but you can still be testing with the non-LTS versions or the feature releases. They also call it the feature releases. So my recommendation is always run Java 8, Java 11, Java 17 in your production environment. Continue to test with the short-term releases so that if there's migration issues, you can catch them early. Hopefully you have automated tests, right? Everyone have automated tests? Yeah? Oh, wow. Not everyone. Okay. But you should continue to test, and that's kind of why you should look at the LTS releases very closely. Awesome. I get this question a lot. What if I want something, a free build? So Simon was just saying about Azul giving you a free build. Adopt Open JDK also gives you a free build. That's how I get my Java 11. I'm running Open JDK 11 with OpenJ9. You can go to Adopt Open JDK, select all your options, and just download the build, and it's available for free. All right, so we talked about why. Oh, question. Go ahead.
You said that Java 8 will go away. Does it mean that later we cannot download Java 8 again?
Not right now. So eventually, it will, just like anything else. But right now, it is downloadable. Through the Adopt Open JDK at least. But eventually it'll go. You shouldn't be downloading Java 8 today, you know? You should be getting Java 11 instead of 8. So, all right. We talked about where we're going. So we're going to Java 11 or later. What are the biggest migration issues I should be expecting? So in my experience, I've noticed that there's 3 categories. The first category is missing libraries. Missing libraries means that your application was dependent on some libraries being there in Java SC and they are no longer there. So let's dive into that. Java 8, you have your application. It's calling Java SC, and I'll be posting these. I know people are taking pictures. I'll be posting those slides as soon as I'm done, so don't worry too much about following and taking pictures as much, but definitely do if you want to. So your application is running and calling Java SC, and it's getting all these libraries for free. So it's getting anyone using JAX-B, because that is the biggest one anyone? Any of the others, JAX, WS, Corba, any of those? All right. So these were all in Java SC before. Java WebStart and Java FX were also in Java SC. Anyone using those? Okay. So what's going to happen now is once you go to Java 11, they're not provided by Java SC anymore. What does that mean? Okay, so let's dive into JAX-B and the other Java EE libraries because those are the most impactful from my experience. If your application is using any of these packages, I know it's kind of small, but if you're using JAX-B, which a lot of you are, JAX-WS, any of these packages, you switch to Java 11 and you'll get a class not found exception. The biggest one we hit with Open Liberty when we were migrating to Java 11 is the JAX-B one, and you have 2 options for that. You either grab those libraries, package them in your application, or you can rely on your application server to provide them. So for example, what we decided to do is, this is invasive enough that we want to ship the libraries as part of the app server. So with Open Liberty, if you switch to Java 11, you'll get those libraries for free. But if you're not using an app server, you can just package those libraries right within your application. And just FYI, all those libraries I talked about are moving to Jakarta EE. So anyone familiar with Jakarta and all the history there? So Java EE, you're using Java EE now. It was donated to the Eclipse Foundation, and now it became Jakarta EE. And there's a lot of work going on to come out with Jakarta EE9. And Jaxby is going to be part of that. JaxWS is going to be part of that. So definitely check out Jakarta EE. If you're using WebStart, I saw some hands come up. The open source WebStart and now Open WebStart is available, so you can just grab that. If you're using JavaFX, same. Check out openjfx.io and check out how to get those libraries there. So even though you're missing those libraries, you can still use them. You just need to add them as a dependency in your Gradle or Mavenfire, whatever you're using. All right, so talked about first category. You relied on it in Java SE, no longer there. What do you do? The second category is removed APIs. Those APIs were there before. They were deprecated. You still use them because they still worked. But now they're no longer there. You can't use them anymore. So let's dive into that a little bit. Java 11 and beyond cleaned up a lot. So there's a lot of classes that got removed that were deprecated since like 1.4. So definitely had a lot of time to migrate those. So there's a number of them here. A lot of the Solaris ones got removed. So what's going to happen here is you'll be in your IDE, you see a warning, you ignore the warning, and then you switch to Java 11, and nope, not going to happen anymore. So this one is really nice because it's kind of a find and replace. You just replace Solaris with Unix. So that's nice. But some of them are not as straightforward. But you know with deprecation, they always tell you what to replace it with. So it'll be kind of a exploratory thing, and I'll show you that in a bit. But a lot of them, the replacement is pretty straightforward. You just need to know what's in your application. Anyone know everything that their application calls? No. Yep, that's why you have tooling, and I'll talk about that in a bit. More packages, more classes got removed. So this one is a little bit interesting because if you look at this method, it's not giving you a warning because the method is deprecated. It's giving you a warning because the object it returns is deprecated. So that's that DND peer package that got removed altogether. So this is a common call. You're going to get compile failures, and you can just replace it with the is displayable and get the same functionality. Removed methods. So not just classes, but also methods got removed. Get a warning, you ignore the warning, you get compile failure, and with all these security manager methods, you just replace them with the check permission method. So like I said, you get deprecation, it's supposed to be replaced by something else, you clean it up. So take this opportunity to clean up your app. You know, you ignore the warnings, but now is the time to kind of go through and figure out what am I using that has been deprecated, been removed, and let me kind of clean up my app a little bit. So there's a lot of these threading related removals that happened. And I was thinking about kind of why. And I thought this bug did a pretty good job explaining why these keep coming out. And it's because finalizers are problematic. You have deadlocks, you're not cleaning up your resources quite right. So they're slowly getting rid of these finalize, destroy, stop, all these methods that you're not really supposed to be using. You should be using try with resource. I think that's really cool to clean up your resources. Make sure you're not cleaning it up unsafely. So if you see more and more with Java versions, you'll see finalize and other methods like that getting removed. I talked about Java 11, but I do want to hit Java 13 for a sec. So Java 13, not a lot with Java 12 and 13 that got removed because it's only been a year. So the security warning class got removed. Most of you probably don't have to worry about that, but the finalized methods got removed for a lot of the other classes. So you'll see that those you can no longer call. All right, hit two categories. Last category, and this one is a very common one, is out-of-date dependencies. So just like you had to clean up your application and remove all those calls and all that stuff, other libraries have had to do it. So not only do you have to update your own code, but you have to update all the libraries that you depend on. So when you're updating, things you need to keep in mind. Update your libraries. We were using ASM because we do a lot of stuff with bytecode manipulation. So we updated our ASM to, I think, 5 or 6, so something like that. And that's the Java 11 compatible version. If you're using Mockito, you have to upgrade. If you're using Spring, you have to upgrade. So think about all the libraries that you're using. Build tools. Who's using Gradle? All right. Who's using Maven? Okay. So you have to update those two build tools because now you need the Java 11 plus compatible version of it. IDEs. Anyone using Eclipse? I use Eclipse. Yeah, Eclipse. IntelliJ. Yep, expected. VS Code? Okay, cool. So you should update your IDEs as well because you need the Java 11 compatible version of that. Application servers. Anyone using application servers? Yep. So if you're using application servers, update your application servers to the Java 11 compatible version of that. So OpenLiberty, JBoss, WebLogic, Tomcat, whatever you're using, you should upgrade those. My advice is take this opportunity to upgrade your dependencies in general. I know we wait until the last minute. I did that with Windows 7. Sadly, I had to upgrade because it's no longer in support. Take this opportunity to upgrade your libraries as well. And look into some automation tools. I'll show you that in a bit. But automation tools are your friend in this space. You can set up automation tools to detect that you have something that's not on the latest version and have it upgraded for you. And I'll show you what that looks like in a bit. Yes?
Does WebLogic offer full support for higher than Java 8?
That's a great question. Anyone in the room know that? Because I'm a WebSphere person. I don't know. Okay. All right. So I would ask those guys about that. Yeah, see, that's part of the problem with these dependencies. Latest version does support Java 11? Awesome. Okay, sounds like it's about out. You know, I was at a conference and they were asking me, well, we're ready to move, but these libraries are not ready to move. And that's part of the problem with having a faster release cadence is people can't keep up. We can't keep up. So that's why it's nice to have it on Java 11 because that's a priority. But if you choose to go to something sooner like Java 13 or so on, you're basically going to be looking at your libraries, making sure they can keep up as well. So keep that in mind when you're choosing what Java version you're choosing. What about modularity, Dalia? Why didn't you say anything about that? Modularity. So if you don't know what modularity is, I'm going to just describe it in a minute. Modularity is Java breaking up its code into different modules. That way your application just drags in the parts of Java that it needs. It's very nice if you're talking about containers because then you're not using as much memory. It's faster start, all that good stuff. So modularity in theory is great, but in practice is a little bit of a migration problem because a Java 8 application has no concept of modules. And once you switch it to Java 11 and you're expecting it to declare its dependencies, there's going to be a problem there. Luckily, there is a kill switch and it's on by default. So it's very nice that it's on by default. I've heard that that's not going to be the case maybe in Java 16 or later, but for now, it's on by default. The default might change, but it's still going to be there, hopefully forever. If Oracle people are here, keep it there. But keep it on for now. Yeah, my advice is keep it on for now. Migrate, take care of all those removed classes, take care of all the other categories of all the other problems, and then think about modularity. Because some people, what they end up doing is that they have their old stuff running without modularity, and then when they're starting to look at microservices or starting to look at containers, then they start taking advantage of modularity. So don't worry about modularity right away. Just migrate to Java 11 at all, and then think about modularity. And in that space, I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if anyone read the JVM ecosystem report that just came out. So it was really interesting. They came out with a report and it was asking 2,000 participants, are you using or are you planning to use Java modules in your Java applications? And here are the results as of last month. So 64% said no, 29% said yes, we plan to, and 7% said no. It's consistent with what I've been hearing from developers. Some people tried it and failed. Anyone here tried it and failed? Some people didn't try it at all because they knew it's just not gonna be good for their apps. But some people are trying it and they love it, but they try it on their new apps and they love it there. So just kind of think about what you need from your application. All right, what tools can I use to make my migration easier? So that's one of my favorite topics. Just checking the time here. So there's different tools you can use. I'm all for automation. Don't do something twice or 3 times manually. Take advantage of tools. I'm all for tools. Tooling. First one I'm going to be talking about is the one that my team works on. It's a free tool. I get the ask, is it free for commercial use? Yes, it's free for commercial use. Anyone can use it. It's a command line tool. What it does is it scans your application and it looks for those things that I was just talking about, missing classes, missing methods, any of those, and it tells you, by the way, you're going to have a problem if you end up migrating. So it produces a report and tells you you're going to have a problem, and I'll show you that in a bit. Another tool is JDubs. Anyone here hear about JDubs? Cool. So JDubs is a tool that started shipping in the JDK starting Java 8. So you'll see it with Java 11, and it scans your bytecode and it tells you if there are some internal classes you're using you shouldn't be using. I thought JDubs was very promising, but some of the things I noticed is that it wasn't flagging some of the issues like the Java EE classes or any of those other ones. So what I ended up doing was I ended up having the binary scanner scan, and if it finds any internal APIs, it tells you to run JDubs, and I'll show you that in a bit. But definitely look at JDubs. If you're running JDubs, make sure you run it with your target Java version. Because if you run it with Java 8 doesn't know anything about what happened in Java 11. So you need to download Java 11 first, run it with Java 11. You don't have that problem with the binary scanner, but you do with JDubs because it ships with the JDK. Lastly, like I said, look into tooling for updating your dependencies. I think Dependabot is pretty promising, and I'll show you that in a bit. But definitely look into tooling for that. Demo, because everyone likes to see what I'm talking about. All right, so here's what I'm going to do here. Let's exit out of here. And okay, here's what I did. So I wanted to kind of show you an experience of a Java developer that's on Java 8. Ooh, no? Okay. Let's make sure it's projecting. Wonderful. See my Eclipse just fine? Clear? Okay. All right, so I have a really, really simple Java 8 application. I built it specifically for this, so it makes, it's kind of a toy app, but it does demonstrate some of the problems you're gonna see in your application. So what's happening here is I have my app, and it has this weather class, and it's using JAX-B. So I want to kind of showcase that I'm using JAX-B to convert my Java objects to XML, if you're not familiar with that. So I have a weather object. Let's take a look at the weather object. It has a city, a state, a country, and a forecast. I live in Rochester, so I built one Java object with Rochester, Minnesota, and the forecast is super duper cold because it's really cold. I'm happy to be here because imagine that. This is a lot better weather than Rochester right now. So that's my forecast. That's my object. And what I'm doing with that object is I'm converting it to XML. And in my write XML method, I have my JAX-B objects, and that's what I'm using to convert to XML. All right, what else are you doing here? So I am encoding and decoding. Makes no sense to encode, write await decode, but I want to show you what I'm doing here. I'm encoding my forecast. And in here, I'm using base64 encoder. I have these warnings, but I'm ignoring them. And I have an original string. It's going to print out what my original forecast is and the encoded version of that. And then I'm going to decode it. So this is really simple. Let's take a look at what it's going to look like when I am running it. So imagine this is your app. And you have an application. It's running on Java 8. And the first step you're going to do is, well, let's show it running first. All right, so I'm on Java 8 right now. I'm going to run it really quick. I have my jar getting generated here, so I'm going to Oh, okay. Let's build it really quick. Build and to run. Interesting. Oh, thank you. Yes, there is an E. I am on Windows. Don't judge me. I find all the bugs on Windows that my Mac friends don't find. So it is good to be on Windows for that reason. Okay, so I just ran my app. Here's what it did. It took my Rochester object and printed it out in XML. So that's the JAXB that I was just talking about. It took my forecast, it encoded it, and it took my encoded string and decoded it. So it's running, your app is running just fine on Java 8. The first step anyone should try when they're going to Java 11 is just try to run it on Java 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my Java 11. I have a script because I don't want to set the path and do all that stuff. Let's take a look. So now I'm Java 11, and I'm going to run again. I'm going to try this again and see what happens. Libs, Java 11. You can come along on this journey. All right, so check this out. I got an error. So that's when your heart sinks and you're like, oh, I wish it just worked. If it just worked, then you're along the way and you're done. Java 11 migration is done and you're happy. But sometimes it's not so simple and you get an error. So unable to initialize main, and let's actually look at the error because sometimes just ignore the error, move on. But here's the error. Java lang no class def found error and it says JAXB exception. If you're paying attention, why are we getting this error? Yes, JAXB is gone from Java 11. Okay, so at this point, you scratch your head. You have two options. You go to Google, you Google away, and then you come back, and then you Google again, and you try something, and you Google again. Or you can try one of the tools. So let's try one of the tools and see what it gives us. So this is the binary scanner I was talking about. This is the tool that my team develops. It's a really small jar because I know people don't want to go through a lot of steps to download something. It's a really simple jar. You just download from here. I'm including the links in the presentation so you can get it. Sorry? I'm going to post it on SlideShare. And if you come up, I will. Oh, and I'm going to tweet it. So if you're on Twitter at all, Dalia SHAEA, and I'm going to tweet it as well. So definitely don't stop yourself from migrating because you don't have access to my slides. Definitely contact me. I'd love to give them to you. All right, so you download it here. You get a jar. So let's take a look at what that looks like. It's going to install this. Once you download, you run java-jar installer, and then you get the jar. That's it. 2 steps. All right, so I have it all downloaded. It's all installed. It's all good. So let's run it. Java-jar. And let's see, where did I put this? I put it in my WMT directory. That's the default. So we're going to do this. Binary scanner. And I'm going to run it against my jar. So it's in my libs. Hopefully it finds it this time. Java 11 demo.jar. So what's happening here is I'm telling the binary scanner, go off and scan my jar. So if you have your application built and it's all in a jar, you're telling the binary scanner, please scan my jar. And then you're telling the binary scanner what to scan it for because it has hundreds of rules. You have to tell it what exactly it's looking for. So I'm going to call analyze Java SE. This is telling me run those Java SE rules. Source Java. Okay, so you're going to tell me where you're coming from. So 2 people were on Java 7. So you can still say Oracle 7. If you're on 6 and you're not telling me, you can say 6. But I am coming from IBM 8, so that's what I'm gonna, so the options are IBM or Oracle, whatever you're running, you just tell me what it is, and the rules are gonna differ slightly. So mine is IBM 8, so that's what I'm gonna choose here, and then target Java. Here are the options. You have Java 11, you can do 13, you can do 8, but we're showing off 11, and then you're gonna run it. All right. This ran really quickly because it's just one class. Yours is going to take a while. So let's go back to see what actually got generated here. Here I'm telling you what things we're excluding. We're excluding third-party libraries by default because you can't do anything about it anyways. So what you're supposed to do is upgrade your third-party libraries. We're going to scan it, and we're going to produce a report. So let's take a look at that report. All right, so here's the report. It scanned my app, and it's telling me I found 3 problems. Let's take a look at those problems. It tells me, okay, do not use APIs from some packages. I don't know what that means. So let's take a look at the help. If you're using internal APIs, they're going away. You're using base64 encoder, so it found that base64 encoder and decoder, and it's telling me you should use base64 class instead. That's that replacement there. So let's go back to my app. All right, so I'm using base64 and I don't know, okay, let's try this out and see how we can fix it. All right, one thing I really like to do when I'm in Eclipse is switch my Java version because then I can actually see the warnings right here. So that's what I'm gonna do right here. I would guess other people are doing it, so I'm gonna switch to Java 11 so I can see all that errors right in my IDE. Yep, red, 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 doesn't like it. All right. So let's fix it up. Here's what you do. base64.encoder. And in this case, you're no longer doing this. You're doing base64.getEncoder. Right now, it is calling .encode. That's no longer valid. So you're calling encode to string instead because I'm passing that and passing it into a string. So that took care of it. So that was fun and easy. Decoder, same thing, base64.getDecoder. Decode buffer is no longer there, so I'm calling decode instead. And that's it. All right, so I fixed this first problem. Second problem. Okay, it's telling me Java XML bindings is gone. What's that problem? JAX-B, right? So it found that I'm using JAX-B, and it's telling me you can't use JAX-B anymore. So it's telling me in the help, Java 11 does no longer ship JAX-B, and what you need to do is enable the JAX-B feature if you're using OpenLiberty. Well, what if I'm not using an app server at all? What do I do? Which maybe most of you doesn't. So let's go back here. So you're getting all these reds, and you're wondering if you should replace. No, you shouldn't replace it. What you need to do is go in your build script. I'm using Gradle because I like to mess around with new tools, and I wanted to mess around with Gradle. If you're using Maven, it's basically the same thing. What you need to do is add that dependency in your build file. So in here, I am lazy, so I just commented this out. I'm adding those Jakarta dependency, and this is gonna bring in JAX-B into my application, and it will take care of it. So that's all I need to do. I'm gonna refresh here because it's Eclipse needs a trigger, and let's take care of that. Let's go back to my app. Looks like it's all happy except for this. By the way, the decode method no longer throws that exception, so I have to get rid of that too. All right, what else? Let's reformat because I don't like badly formatted classes. Okay, looks great. And let's take care of those imports. All right, I just fixed my app. Let's go back to that report. It tells me to run JDEPs. And I'm wondering, why is it telling me to run JDEPs if I fixed all the problems? Well, I might as well run JDEPs. Let's take a look at JDEPs. JDEPs-JDK internals. And then I'm going to run JDEPs against libs, my jar file. I want to show you what JDEPs produces. Here's what JDEPs produces. You're going to run it. It's going to run against your jar, and it's going to tell you, it's going to take a second to kind of understand what it's telling you here. So what it's telling you here is you're using base64 decoder, base64 encoder. Binary scanner already told you that, so it's kind of redundant. It's telling you to replace it with base64. But I already did that, so I'm good to go. The idea behind why I'm showing you this is just in case you're using some internal API and you have no idea what to replace it with, you can run JDEPs and find out more things. So that's helpful. All right, so we fixed it up. It looks green. All right, so moment of truth. Let's try to build it. The E is going to kill me. And then let's do build, and let's try run. This is where the demo fails or doesn't fail. Let's see if we migrated our Java 8 application successfully to Java 11. Awesome. No longer getting an error. You migrated to Java 11. You fixed your errors up, and it's running just fine. You're getting the same output you got before, and you're along your way. So that's what I hope for all of you, is that it's going to be that smooth and beautiful. No, it's not. But it's going to be easy enough that you can kind of get an idea that you're going to be fixing a little bit, going back, rebuilding, fixing a little bit, and it's just fine. That's just migration. All right, so I'm about to finish up here. Bear with me. I know it's about lunch, but I do want to leave you with a couple things. What are my next steps? What I want you to do when you get out of here is go back and be empowered, and you're like, I'm going to move to Java 11. It's going to be great, and it's going to be easy. The steps you should do. Try to just run it on Java 11. Maybe it's going to be great, and it's going to be green, and your tests are going to pass, and you don't have to worry about it ever again. But maybe not. Next step, if you run into errors, here's that command I showed you. So you don't have to worry too much about remembering what I just did. Run tools or Google away. Some people like to be, in pain. You can Google it and research and try it and rebuild and do all that fun stuff. Fix it, go through, just repeat. Update your dependencies. You might have to do this before you do any of that. So you might need to update your Maven, your Gradle, all that good stuff. And then run your application tests. Please have automated testing for this. It's really important. But make sure you're running your tests. Make sure, because sometimes it runs a little bit and then it hits that one call and it just fails in production. It's not a good time. Make sure you're running good testing for that and automate it so that you can run the latest Java versions with those tests as well. Finally, celebrate. And please tell me how it went, because I'd love to know if there are things that the tools didn't catch. I want to improve the tools for the next developer that's migrating. I've posted my Twitter here. Ping me. I'd love to hear what your experience was and learn from it. So when I give this talk again, your experience comes into my next talk. Oh, I got a question. Yes.
Does the binary analyzer also scan dependencies?
It will scan dependencies if you want it to. You just need to use the include packages, exclude packages option and tell it, no, I really want you to scan these packages. So if you really want to, yes, you can scan dependencies. All right, lastly, there's a bunch of references that are included here. There's actually a source code version of the binary scanner in Eclipse. So if you're using Eclipse, you can download a plugin in Eclipse and it will scan your source code right within Eclipse. The reason I didn't show it today because I know that most people are using IntelliJ, but our source scanner tool is widely used. It's very great, and there's a video of how to use Eclipse to migrate to Java 11, so check that out. A bunch of other things, including my repo. You can check out my repo and do all that. Oh, actually, I wanted to show you Dependabot. So right after this, I'll show you Dependabot. The report I was talking about, check it out. There's a lot of interesting things there. roadmap, and if you're wanting to go to adopt Open JDK instead of Oracle Java, there's a link here about how to do it. And then what we ended up doing in Open Liberty so that we can get it Java 11 compatible. All right, before I go to questions, I want to show you Dependabot because I think it's pretty cool. All right, so GitHub. Here's the repo I was just, here's the project I was just showing you. You can check it out and play around with it, do everything with it. I used it to learn Gradle. And what I did was I set it up with Dependabot, and it's something that comes for free if you're using GitHub already. What it does is that it scans your Gradle and Maven files and finds out what version you're running on. And if it finds out you're running on a version that's old, it upgrades it for you and creates a pull request for you. So it's not auto-merging, thankfully, because you never want to do that. But it is creating that pull request for you. So I ended up just looking at this pull request. It looks good to me, and I merged it into my repo. So I think it's pretty cool. It's not the only tool out there. Check it out, because updating dependencies is painful. The more you automate, the better. So that's all I wanted to show today. I'm going to post these slides right away as soon as I'm done here. You can click all the links, and I would be very happy to take questions. I know we're going into lunch. No, lunch starts at 11:20. All right, so we're right on time. I'd love to take questions. If you want to head out and go to lunch, that's fine, but I'm happy to take questions. Thank you. I get asked this question all the time. I'd love to have something on IntelliJ, and we're looking at LSP for that as well. It's just, you know how it is. It's hard to rewrite the code and do all this stuff, but we're looking into it using LSP, if you're familiar with that, so that it's available on VS Code and other IDEs as well. We're looking into it. But that's why the binary scanner is there, so you don't have to worry about the IDE you're using.
She works for this company.
It's an awesome company. All right, what else? Other questions? Yes.
Also.
Yes. It's a very interesting question because the difference between the Java 8 and the 11 support LTS is like 1 year. So some people are like, why would I even migrate to 11? I could just go to 17. Well, you need to not go all the way there. So right now, Java 11 goes until, do you know, Donald?
Oh, to what year?
Yes, it's like 2022 or 25, maybe 20. The roadmap that I linked here says it, but I think it's like 22, 25. There's a big... Yeah, exactly. If you're getting paid support, are you getting free support or paid for support? I think Red Hat plans to keep it, like Red Hat wants to give you the free builds as much as we can. So don't worry about it being pulled under the rug. It'll probably be like later on. So you can definitely download it now. All right, I hope I answered your other Java 8 question, did I? Okay, great, awesome. Jaxby question. Yes. No, they don't want to ship any Java EE stuff in Java SC. It's not that JAXP is going away and it's no longer relevant. It's still relevant. It's just that they don't want to support it in Java SC anymore. So they told everyone else, all right, just support it as its own library. So I wanted to make that clear, that it's still strategic, just like, you know, JavaFX or WebStar. It's just that you're pulling it in as a separate dependency instead of having it as part of Java SE. But it's not shipped as part of Java SE anymore, and no replacement in Java SE. No, it is not abandoned. They're actively developing it, so don't worry about that. Yep, great. Other questions? Maybe, right? I don't think so. I haven't heard about a lot of it. Has anyone else? I don't think so, but I think this should... You're going to know that it's no longer there. Oh, go ahead.
So right now, somebody was doing Java C for if you have reflection, some of the tools.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Because the tools will scan
Yes.
the bytecode and reflection will find it at runtime. So beware of reflection.
Yes, that's a really good point. Reflection is one. I got a question about whether the tool is going to catch it, but how can we catch reflection? You just like, how do you scan for reflection? So yeah, you might have problems when you're using reflection. That's a good point. Thank you.
Basically, with no address successfully once all builds and tests are defined.
Yes.
You have tests.
If you have tests, if you have extensive, really good tests, everyone does, right? Yes, yes. Customers are the best testers, right? No, I didn't say that. Is that still recording? I'm just kidding.
Actually, an OpenJDK project called Poly Average from Oracle, and basically all open source libraries are either like performed with other compatible with like different versions. Because to that point, like if you're depending on reflection, like you need to write your test suite, right? To really know.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay, you'll have to ping me the link.
First libraries actually publish which JDK is for actually testing it. So.
Awesome. Can you send me that link? I'd be interested in that. Awesome. Other ones.
Whatever. JDEX is only meant to find the dependencies. So it will only tell you which modules we're using. There's another tool into this guide, JDEPR scan.
Yes.
So it'll scan for deprecated classes. And
Yes,
you
yes.
can flag the ones that are deprecated for removal, which are more problematic.
Yes. The problem is that's the step next to, like, it doesn't show you things that were gone before, and it won't find the Java EE stuff. Yes, exactly. Which is, but who it plans ahead of time that much? You know, if you look at the Java 8 people, it's like it's obvious that no one wants to move yet.
It's one of those CYA tools.
Okay.
It was available.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. All right, awesome. I'd like to talk to you a little bit more after this. All right. Other questions? Yes. Yes. Awesome. What do you mean by automation project?
Like we are using Selenium based
Oh.
Java. Any experience?
We do run some Selenium tests. They ran fine for us, but there might be issues. I would search around and see if anyone has. I know we didn't have problems, but someone else might. And I would do everything else. And then when you run into those issues, let me know, because I'd be interested to know and I can present on that. All right. Sorry I couldn't answer it more, but yeah, good luck with that. Awesome. Other questions? All right, I'm going to do that. Yes.
Is this an optimized version?
Open J9, yes. It's the one that shipped with Nokia, you know, the really old Nokias.
So this is this optimized version or?
So it's like you're running right now Oracle. So they're running Hotspot.
Oracle actually now is going paid, right? So we
Yes.
have to go for Open JDK.
Yes. So you could use Hotspot, which is closer to what you used to do, or OpenJ9, which is more optimized. So we have all the data about, faster runtime here and all that stuff. So it's just switching the JVMs. And
So, but you
it
had a
has
download
advantages.
from the IBM or?
No, adopt OpenJDK.
Because I came from the IBM background and I know that IBM used to have their own version of
Yes, and we open sourced it. Yes, so now you can just get Hotspot or OpenJ9. I run OpenJ9 because I came from IBM 8 and I want to have OpenJ9 and it runs beautifully on my machine.
It's compatible with the Oracle Java 8.
Yes,
So there's no problem.
I don't think so. If you have problems, it'll be with
JDK and the
tuning.
JRE both or only the Open J9?
I think, no, both. JDK, yep,
JDK?
yep.
Okay, so it's-
I cared about the JDK most, so I know it's the JDK, so definitely the JRE as well.
So that is the right path actually.
go for the most optimized one? Because I thought
It's-
Hotspot is like.
They're both good. They're good for different things. We're trying to be the most optimized. You can try OpenJ9 and see how it works for you. You can try Hotspot and see how it works for you. The difference you see is in tuning, because one is better than other in certain areas. So I would recommend running it with both and see what happens. Yep. Awesome. Yeah. Check out the Adopt Open JDK site. It's a really good place for that.